A dramatic flood rescue in Texas. Heavy rain all day yesterday trapped a woman in her home. A construction worker brought his backhoe over, picking her up along with the family dog, taking them to higher ground. Now, this particular story had a happy ending, but not so for some others. At least 4 people have died in the flash flooding that resulted. We'll have a live report later this hour. The road to the midterm elections is littered with angry rhetoric from both Republicans and Democrats. Politicians locked in bitter battles. The GOP says it is the party that will keep America safe. Democrats say theirs is the party of change. Many voters stick to party lines, but what about the moderates? Where do they go? With us now, a senator considered a moderate Democrat herself, Senator Mary Landrieu from Louisiana. Senator, good morning.
Good morning, John.
You have heard the name-calling, the partisanship on Capitol Hill. Americans generally don't like it. They want you in the Senate and the House to get something done. Is it going to change?
Absolutely, John, and I think they're right. And if Democrats get in charge of the House, which it looks like it might, I'm really hoping that they'll take the opportunity to step forward and lead. We need to reform, we need to change, we need to focus on the middle class, and we need to really begin to build bridges of getting things done. Better schools, better health care, and in my case, better levees and better flood control.
Yeah, you've still got a mess in Louisiana and Mississippi. We'll talk about that in a second, but you didn't mention the Senate. You think that the Republicans are going to keep control of the Senate?
Well, it's hard to say right now. I mean, I think it's really 50-50, but if that happens as well, I hope that the Democrats will forge ahead with reform and change and trying to balance the budget, but working with Republicans on ideas to strengthen our public school system and to build a health care system that's affordable for middle-class families. And we haven't had enough of that working together, and it's, there's enough blame, John, to go to both sides. But I've been proud to be part of a group of centrists and a part of the Gang of 14, if you will, that tries to keep things on track. Sometimes we do, sometimes we're not able to, but I think that people really want us to get down to the business of governing. They're tired of the name-calling and partisanship, and they want us to move forward. I don't think America wants us necessarily to move left or right, but forward. And people feel stuck, they feel anxious, they feel aggravated, and they have every reason to be based on what they've seen come out of Washington. So I'm really hoping that when Democrats take control, we can move it forward. You
talked about balancing the budget. That was never a talking point for Democrats in years past. Is that a big issue now in your party? You'd like to see a balanced budget? Well,
actually, John, President Clinton was the only president that actually balanced the budget in recent years. Now, he had some help from Republicans, but really very little in the sense that those votes were done with mostly Democrats. But the DLC, Democratic Leadership Council, Blue Dog Democrats, and the new coalition of Democrats have really been about pay-as-you-go, fiscal responsibility. And I think that's an issue that our party gets clobbered for, but in fact, many Democrats have been for a balanced budget, and we need to do that more in Washington. Well, nobody likes deficits.
I think Newt Gingrich would argue the contract with America had a big deal to do with that. Well, does President Bush get the credit? I mean, the deficit has been significantly lowered. He was talking about that last week.
But, John, actually, that's sort of a talking point of the Republicans, because although the deficit's lower, it's the largest it's ever been. So the good news is it's better than we thought.
Well, the economy's bigger, too.
But it's still, as a percentage of the GDP, right. But anyway, the fact is we need to get in balance. It's not now, and I hope Democrats can work with Republicans to do that.
Let's talk about what's going on in New Orleans and neighboring Mississippi. Some people have said that Mississippi, despite the devastation, looks a whole lot better than Louisiana does after the year of Reconstruction. Do you see it that way?
Well, first of all, our neighbors in Mississippi have done a fine job, and they were hurt just terribly. But the difference is that Louisiana's damage was about 7 times as bad as Mississippi. And, John, the difference is simply that the levees broke. The federal levee system collapsed in and around New Orleans, putting enough water, emptying Lake Pontchartrain basically into the city. We lost 200,000 homes. They lost about 70,000. We are happy to help Mississippi rebuild. We want to work together as a region, and we can do it. But it is just overwhelming. FEMA failed. The Red Cross was overwhelmed. Our state officials and local officials didn't do everything we could do. But the fact is, we've got a lot of people down there hurting, and we've got to get a massive effort of private and public to help rebuild this great region.
We have some new pictures of what it looks like these days in New Orleans, and In some respects, it doesn't look like there's been a year's worth of reconstruction going on there. Well, there's a foundation you can see still flattened, absolutely nothing but the toilet left.
But John, actually, a lot of work has been done, but it's still devastating. But as I was explaining before, it would be like if Manhattan, if half of it was still uninhabitable. The city had 465,000 people the weekend before the storm. Today we have 190. Can you imagine Manhattan losing 60% of its population in a matter of 3 months? It's devastating to tourism, devastating to the real estate business. And it's because of the flood, not so much the hurricane. We survived the hurricane. It was the flooding that we couldn't survive. So we've got a lot of work to continue to do. But, you know, the people are strong, the Saints are winning, and we hope that we'll have a better year than last one. Let's hope for that.
Yeah, that's an incredible story in the NFL. The Saints are unstoppable right now.
Unstoppable, thank goodness. They're the spirit of hope for our city and for our region.
A bit of good news for a part of the country that really needs it.
A weary part of the country, America's only energy coast. So thank you.
All right. Mary Landrieu, Senator from Louisiana.
Thank you.
It only took about 230 years, but the United States has reached the 300 million mark. We're talking about population. It officially hit that big 300 at 7:46 a.m. Eastern Time, about an hour and a half ago, when the Census Bureau's population clock rolled over to that big number with lots of zeros. The U.S. hit 100 million back in 1915. Woodrow Wilson was president back then, and a gallon of gas cost you 25 cents. Deadly storms hit Texas hard. Nearly a foot of rain falling in some places. Roads closed, homes swamped, and 3 lives lost at least. We'll take you to the flood zone after the break. And a live look at the White House. President Bush ready to sign a